Today we are demonstrating proper use and application of the Posey Twice as Tough locking cuffs. So first we notice we have two sizes. We have blue and red. The only difference between the two restraints next to the color is the size of the wrist cuff and the straps. So red technically is a large size for a large wrist or a typical ankle. Blue is your small or medium size reserved for a wrist or a small ankle. But either one works fine, it's just depending on the patient size, whoever you're applying it onto. So we'll start with the blue. Another tip for proper application is when the cuff is open, the black Velcro always faces to the outside. So I am putting it on her left wrist, so black Velcro faces to the outside. Okay? So when we're placing it on the wrist, proper application is always one finger spacing between the skin and the cuff. So my one finger is between the skin and the cuff. And then when I'm enclosing my Velcro, keep in mind this little flap on our soft Velcro should always be folded backwards, never folded down. Okay, so we want to fold it back as we make our enclosure, because if for whatever reason this lock doesn't get locked securely, if this comes undone, our restraint is still nice and tight around the patient's wrist because of our little flap enclosure, okay? And there's no way that pulling it in one direction is going to release our Velcro, okay? It's nice and secure temporarily while we reassess and put the strap back through the lock. And you need two opposing forces to get this off, and if her other limb is restrained, there's no way she can undo this with only one hand. So now we're going to make our final enclosure here with our strap through the lock. And the easiest way to make sure we secure our lock is to place one hand on the wrist above the lock and one hand below, and then we press down on our lock, pressing it against the limb and securing the lock. Really simple like that. Now, things to keep in mind, if at all possible, it is safest to attach the bed connecting strap first, because should whatever reason her limb get free as she's flailing around as I'm trying to restrain this, now our locks can become weaponized. So if at all possible, we want to strap the restraint to the bed frame first, a non-movable part of the bed frame always, so we can loop it through and tighten it up and try and gauge the distance we're going to need out of the strap first. If we need to readjust later, we can, but the reason why we do it to the bed frame first is now it's tethered to something and she doesn't have full range of motion, okay, to swing those locks around, okay? But if I need to adjust it later, with security's help, with someone else's help, I can undo my lock safely, pull it down, make it a little tighter, okay? And that is proper application of our Twice as Tough wrist restraint. The red restraint is applied exactly the same way. Black Velcro always faces to the outside. The cuff is just a little larger to accommodate a larger size patient's wrist or an average ankle. If you need to use a set of 4 blues on a patient, you can. If you need to use a set of 4 reds on a patient, you can. They work exactly the same way and are designed to do the exact same thing with our tab folded back and everything else.